Alec, welcome. Today is April 7th, 2021,
It is
8:31
indeed.
p.m.
It
And
is indeed.
we felt like we wanted to talk about 2 months in one video.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
that's how we're going to do every monthly video from now on. Will be 2 months, maybe five
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
sometimes.
How about no? How about we don't do that?
No, something
Um,
happened. A guy came in, smashed up my computer, and he took my data. And so
he
we
took your he
lost it.
took your lunch money.
The guy he's like, "Where's the monthly favorites video? I just want
He
that
knocked you
one."
down. He knocked you down on the ground. Stole your lunch money.
And he took two Survivor episodes in the monthly favorites video and a chance
Yeah.
time wheel spin. He was like, "I just
Yeah.
want these. You can have the rest." I'm like, "Okay, I don't understand," but it was really weird. I was uncomfortable. He took my pants
It was
off,
uncomfortable.
but
Oh, okay. That's just a good twist I wasn't expecting. Okay.
but he
All
didn't do
right.
anything. He just told me to take my pants off and give me those videos, and then he
Oh.
left.
Oh. Okay.
And he
Well.
apologized because he knocked over a house plant on his way out. And I was like, "It's all
Wow.
right, dude." Uh,
Wow.
so today we're going to talk about the month of, what was it,
March.
January, December,
No, March.
March, and February.
March and February. Yes.
Okay, that works too. I had mine planned for January and December, but I'll whip
What
something
are you
up.
talking about?
All right, so we're gonna talk about each of our three favorite things. Together, it'll be six things.
Mm-hmm.
This is spread across 2 months because we didn't do one for that other month.
Yeah.
So
So these videos are just more or less just talk about things that we did that we doesn't don't really fit into any of our other content. Things that we just want to talk to each other about and just mention. And it's also kind of nice to like go back to some of these videos and be like, what was I doing at this period of time?
mhm.
I've actually going to be starting to implement your log system of like things I did and watched very soon, because I think that's awesome, and that'll be really useful and interesting for me to go back and be like, man, I remember when I was doing that, or remember when I was doing this. Sometimes if they're things that are super important, I remember them anyways, like the spring break that I watched Clenad, or the year both Final Fantasy 13 and Pokemon Soul Silver came out, and very important things like that. But like some of the more granular ones, I don't always remember. But
Yeah, so those of you that don't know, which is probably everybody, I have a log that I do of every video game I beat, every show I watch, and every movie I watch. I'll track that.
hmm,
And but I mean, I go even crazier with it, where I'll track literally every time I watch an episode, play a game one time, watch a
yeah,
movie, and so I've done that since 2017 now. A
yeah.
little insane, but I've done it. So I can like
It's a
go
cool way
back
to
to
journal things, though.
yeah, I can go back
Yeah.
to 2018, like March 8th, and be like, what did I watch that day? But overall, then I have like a tab where I have the full thing, so I can see that like I watched 20 seasons this year. I
Mm.
played this many games, so it's interesting to compare. But yeah, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is something from a few months back here that I ended up in February watching more and watching people's reactions to, and that's the Vikings final season. It's a
Okay.
great show, one that I've watched for years now. It's one of those really character-driven shows where it's like it was on the History Channel. It's based on history loosely. And they do take some liberties with it.
Yeah, I've heard the historicities.
Yeah, but it's
Well,
like
fast and loose.
they're based on real characters, but then you have like people that never even existed at the same time. They're like interacting closely, but
Hmm.
it's mostly about just a character drama at the end of the day, and you just really get connected to the characters, and it's great. But they did the final season, and I think they did it really well. Honestly, it wasn't crazy the first half. There were some standout episodes, but overall, I just think it did a good job of wrapping up a show. When it's easy to mess up the ending of the show, it's nice to see a show end in 6 seasons, like not too long, and it has like a clear storyline that they were able to wrap up, even with like all these new characters mixed in. A lot of differences from the first season, like they're still able to make a concise thing. It's like a very different show from where this show began, but it's still great. I loved it, and the finale was great. So, yeah, if you're interested in all, like, if you were a Game of Thrones fan, that kind of show. I've heard The Last Kingdom is another great show in that kind of, like, genre of, like, mixtures of, like, medieval, historical, like, that kind of thing. I've heard that's a good one, too. I might check that out soon. But, yeah, if you're into that kind of, definitely check out Vikings.
Yeah, there was one movie I watched with my parents a couple years ago that I remember really enjoying. That was kind of based more in trying to have a more historical take on the story of more focused on Robert the Bruce rather than William Wallace. So Braveheart is about William Wallace. This is more or less about the subsequent revolution that sparked, led by Robert the Bruce. And I think it was. I want to say it was Chris Pine. I don't remember who it was that was in it, but it was pretty good. There was some stuff that was like, like there was like a nighttime raid where fire arrows were being used, and I was like, those literally never happened. So, like fire arrows are a complete
They're
fiction.
a myth?
Oh yeah, totally.
That's crazy.
Because like when you fire it, it's gonna go out immediately.
Wait, is that true?
Yes, that is very true.
There's never been a fire arrow.
I'm sure there probably have been, but they have little in terms of actual practicality or practical use on the battlefield that a general arrow will be able to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but like in Vikings, they had a boat. You know, they set their person off out on the boat to after they die, and then they send a flaming arrow. Would you do that kind of thing?
I think that's a romanticized thing. I don't think. I think they would light them and then set them off.
I mean, I guess
burn out into the,
it might be thinking
out in the bay.
It might be thinking of Game of Thrones. I think Vikings, they do generally light it and send it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, yeah, Beowulf, the Robert Rodriguez Beowulf, they literally do shoot a fire arrow, and it's like, okay, well, this is
So they never did that.
It's a myth anyway. That's a legendary story anyway.
That's sad. I wish I never learned that.
Well, it's better to be historically accurate in my book. I mean, yeah, if you want to do it in terms of fantasy, sure, go, like, why not? Like, I mean, D&D, D&D, I love leaning into like the fantastical stuff, but sometimes it's like, would this really be practically useful at all? Would this stand a chance? No, of course not. But that's the fun of imagination and fiction. So fire arrows, go at it. Just leave it out of historical stuff.
Yeah, fire arrows are so present in fantasy, at least.
Yeah, and that's fine. I can wave that away as like fantasy, but like when it's in actual like historical grounded stuff, I'm like, yeah, I draw a line there. So, I started watching Community, and it is a great show that I've really been enjoying watching. It was a show for a long period of very funny. It was a show for a long time. In college, when I would come across people that were speaking positively about the Big Bang Theory, I would be like, no. If you want to actually see something that embraces instead of others and makes fun of nerd culture, watch Community.
Okay. Community
is a much better representation of nerds through Troy and Abed, their relationship. You know, Troy, who's played by oh my gosh,
Macaulay Culkin.
No.
Robert Rodriguez.
No. What?
Andrew Garfield. Just naming names.
No, but he was in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh. J.B. Smoove. No, that was Far From Home.
J.B. Smoove is in.
Yes. He's one of the teacher, really? One of those teacher guides that went with them on the trip. Tom Holland, Zendaya. I think you're thinking of Zendaya. Marissa Tomei.
Through Troy and Abed, and Troy played by Donald Glover.
Oh.
Donald Glover, also, his introduction in season 2 is actually a direct inspiration on Miles Morales as a character, because he hops up out of bed with a Spider-Man shirt on. That is the origin of Miles Morales.
What?
Like, people were really hype about that, and it was yeah. So Miles Morales is owed to that. So it would have been really cool, had Donald Glover actually been able to play Miles Morales in something. But he does mention his nephew Miles in Spider-Man Homecoming, in the cameo role that his cameo role, I say, because he's in it for maybe like 5 minutes of the movie, not even 5 minutes of the movie, but yeah, it was great. Community's great. It's a much better representative, like I said, of geek and nerd culture. It has a lot of genre spoofs in some of the episodes. It's a lot of fun. The cast is great. Yeah, they all just play off each other so well, and writing is really fun. Very Dan Harmon writing, and I actually found out that the Russo brothers, speaking of more MCU connection, the Russo brothers like co-created this with Dan Harmon, which I think is wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Community. It's very fun. And I'm gonna pick all these seasons up on Blu-ray because they actually are missing. And one of the more landmark episodes is not on Netflix because it does have an instance of blackface, but the instance of which is
usually they take that out though. Like The Office, they took out the scene.
They took out the blackface joke.
Yeah.
So, but like, see, my problem with necessarily with taking those out. I mean, yes, okay, it's a horrible practice, but like the point of how it's being used is, yes, this is a horrible practice, and the reason that it's funny is because the characters don't realize that it's awful.
No, I agree. Yeah, but they
so, like,
took out the whole episode.
The whole episode's not even there,
like,
and it's the Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Was it like present a lot or just one scene?
I think what happens is that one of the characters is supposed to be a drow, which is a dark elf, more or less. And I think I want to say the character that does it is
Donald Glover.
Hold on. No, it's not Donald Glover. That would be weird. I don't even know how that would be possible.
Cancelled.
So Ken Jeong's character, Chang,
Dr. Ken.
Dr. Ken is the character that's in blackface.
Okay. But is it? But he's like in it for a lot of the episode. I
guess. I think. So I haven't made it all the way through season 2, admittedly. So I'm in season 2 currently. His kind of like shtick in season 2 so far has been trying to get into the study group with everyone else, and him trying to weasel his way into getting into their study group. So I don't know. He's kind of he's always sort of an ancillary character, but I mean he's always present because I mean Ken Jeong is hysterical. So like
that's interesting.
Anytime he can chew the scenery is fun. But the whole cast is really funny. So
because The Office had like a 5-second bit on it, so they were able to just cut it out of the episode.
Yeah. Okay.
And it worked.
Yeah.
But
you
think they'll make like a blackface collection Blu-ray?
Allison Brie is adorable, and I love her.
Sure.
So
I would like to watch it sometime. My family and I, we have our show nights every week, and we have like a rotation. We have like a comedy slot right now. There's Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So
it's a great show. That's a great show.
Once we get through that, then we'll replace it with another one. Yeah. So Community is one of the ones we might.
Community is really good, and I highly recommend it. It's very fun. So
Big Bang Theory is cringe, though. Yeah.
Big Bang Theory is terrible. I couldn't believe when people in college were talking about it. I was like, how can you even stand that? Like,
we should watch every episode.
No,
talk about it.
It's like I can't believe that like all these like big celebrity cameos of like freaking Will Wheaton was on a bunch of episodes, and I was like, Will Wheaton, the entire humor of the show is like. The laugh track is framed at othering nerds.
But it's
Like, the
not
entire crux of the humor is a mean-spirited making fun of nerds, and it's like,
really. I mean, I felt like it was just
yeah.
a cringy way of trying to embrace nerddom. I just didn't like how they did it because it's
I
about
mean,
nerds. How can it be against nerds?
it is, but like, well, because they're all portrayed as kind of terrible, awful, socially awkward people.
Which
Where it's like, I mean, sure, you can do that like they do in Community, but also embrace it.
mm-hmm.
You know, so
Okay.
it's like, I don't know. It does it in a way that feels like it feels like, I remember a comparison I heard was like, it feels like the bully that like punches you down and takes your lunch money, which I just mentioned earlier, another episode we were doing, I think, or was it in this episode? Was it in this episode?
I don't think it was in any
I think I'm
episode.
going insane.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what's going on, but anyways, it feels like the bully who like takes your lunch money and then wants to sit down with you at your table with your friends.
Yeah.
Like that's what Big Bang Theory is like. Like, where it's like profiting off of the fact that, hey, we're nerd culture, but it's like at the same time it's like the jokes are all like, you watch the episode, the like, I remember very popular for a time, it was like the YouTube where they would remove the laugh track. And it was like, this is just like, this sounds like a normal conversation I would have with my friends, where it's like, hey guys, I brought Nintendo 64 over, laugh track. It was like,
that's awesome.
that's what I would do with my friends. Like, how's that funny? That's not funny at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Anyway,
Love that.
so what's your second
Right.
thing?
You want to talk about Andrew Garfield? I don't have anything
Okay.
Andrew Garfield, actually.
Okay.
I do have Stardew Valley,
Ooh.
which is I have a show rotation with my family, and I have a co-op rotation with my brother. So we had been doing like Borderlands 2.
Cool.
What else? Some other games. Borderlands, the pre-sequel. And then now Stardew Valley is our go-to co-op for online. And that's been a really interesting experience because, like, I love farming simulation games, but doing it with 2 players is really different. I feel like this is almost my ideal way to play. It's like so much better having someone there to not only like split the workload so you're not wasting your whole day doing it, but also to just have someone to bounce things off of. So it's like, when farming games like that can be boring at times, you at least have someone there, so you can work on stuff together, collaborate. It's fun. And it's kind of like what I always envisioned, what I wanted for an Animal Crossing online multiplayer, is to be able to share a town together, and that's what you do with Stardew Valley. You share a farm, but you can also have your own relationships, which is nice. So you can marry people if you want. If you are like a husband and wife playing together, you could marry each other. Your characters can marry each other, but it's interesting. You can have different relationships. The only problem with doing 2-player is that I feel like it's not quite fine-tuned enough yet to where you'll waste even more time in your day, because when in single player, when you pause and go into your menu and stuff, the time would freeze, but on co-op it doesn't freeze because it's not synced up, so
Yeah.
it'll just keep playing through, so you don't have time to like just sit in menus and reorganize things. It's like the days flying by at a breakneck pace. And also a problem is that you'll each have your own cutscenes that you trigger, because you have different cutscenes that come from relationships and stuff. And so as the cutscene's going by, you're like days wasting away. I'm like, oh, I gotta get to this thing in time, and I have this cutscene, which is not a problem that was obviously intended for the game, because it was intended for single player originally, and that would always pause the time. So it's things like that were kind of little hurdles. But overall, it's nicer to have the workload split, because like we're at the point where we have our things split up. So I'll go tend to the barn animals, and then I'll go to the greenhouse, and then he'll tend to the coop animals. He'll go out to the field and water those crops.
Out there in the field.
So we have it split up, whereas like so far seems to be no way to like have people help you or anything, so I can't imagine doing it all by yourself. We're just working on buying the remaining house upgrades we want to get. We always have goals we're working towards. And like our productivity is really high now, so we have a lot of money. But yeah.
I've heard it's really great. It's almost like Shameless at like how much it kind of rips Harvest Moon. It was all developed by one guy,
It's amazing.
and like it does Harvest Moon better than Harvest Moon, pretty much. So
I think it's
it's
kind of fair.
basically how I've heard people describe it. So
It's kind of fair because it's like, and it's also it's unique in the 2D style because you don't really see that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
unique in the it's like simpler in design, but it's almost more
lovely
effective.
lovely pixel art for
Yeah,
sure.
and then
Yeah.
like there's so much more in there than in an average Harvest Moon game where there's like so many different features and so many things you can craft and collect. There's like
Mm.
we haven't really run out of things to do yet, and we're like 50 something hours in now at this point. So it's like a big time sink. We'll have times where we have these huge gaming sessions, which is like not something I usually do nowadays. But I'll find if we have like a day that we're like both off for a lot of time, we'll end up playing for like 8 hours if we don't stop ourselves. It's crazy.
Mm.
It's
Wow.
really addicting, and the days fly through, so you don't get your things accomplished enough. So it's like, all right, let's keep working at it. But it's cool.
Very cool.
So we'll probably be playing that for some time now.
Nice, nice. So for me, sure, I'll just go to the game. I was gonna talk about something else first, but since you're talking about a game, I will talk about a game, and I want to shout out Rusty right now. We've just done some recording with him, but I'm shouting it out because he snagged me a PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to highlight Astro's Playroom. But yeah, so for information, Rusty helped me out with getting a PlayStation 5. He just kind of messaged me one day. He's like, "Hey, I have this in my cart. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yes." So he ordered it for me. We kind of coordinated getting it shipped, and yeah, I'm super stoked to have a PlayStation 5, and it's sitting right over there, right next to me. And yeah, it's a very cool system. The controller is very awesome. That to me is kind of like the big highlight for it. But Astro's Playroom, the game
Mm-hmm.
bundled in with the system, just you get it free on the console, is a wonderful 3D platformer that celebrates the history of PlayStation as a brand, and it's great. It's a wonderful little 3D platformer. I feel like 3D platformers are kind of the heyday for them is no longer. I think there's been a little bit of a revitalization of it somewhat with games like Hat in Time, obviously Mario Odyssey. Mario's always going to be great. Mario always does a great job with it. But like a Hat in Time or Super Lucky's Tale or Ukulele, which was like a little less well received than the other two. And then Balan Wonderworld, which no one's playing and no one cares about and is tanking super hard, which is really sad to say. But I haven't played it, so I can't say if that's justified or not.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, Astro's Playroom is wonderful, and it should be the first thing that you do when you turn the console on is just play that game. It's pretty short. I beat it in probably like 4 or 5 hours, and it was just a blast the whole way through. A lot of little collectibles, doing more completionist stuff. So I'm gonna be going back and playing through more of it. But there's like a lot of like hidden collectibles and really fun little references to games from Sony's past. Tons of shout outs for even from like third party games and stuff too. So it's just a lot of fun. I absolutely adored it. It's a really good showcase for what the controller can do, the DualSense controller, in terms of doing stuff with like trigger, the reactive triggers, the some of the motion controls, and just some of the additional the haptic feedback controllers, which I thought the Switch controller, the Joy-Cons, were really great in terms of like the 3D audio, which is more or less haptic feedback. That's their proprietary term for it.
Mm-hmm.
3D rumble. I think this is that good, if not better. There's just so much cool little like gyrations in the controller. It's just such a neat rumble feature. It's so cool. Astro's Playroom, super fun game, super great game. The nostalgic little romp through the last, it was in 1994, so almost 30 years of PlayStation history. So, yeah.
Nice. So the last thing I want to talk about is another game. You know, we have our show rotation. We have our
Mhm.
online co-op rotation. We also have our local co-op rotation that we'll do whenever I'm able to go to his house. And right now that is Gnosia. Do you know this game?
No, I don't think so. Gnosia?
No, we don't know if it's pronounced that way. We never really looked into it, but we've just been calling it that. It's Gnosia. It could be Gnosia.
Gnosia?
Or if we just gotten so used to reading it that way, so.
I feel like I've read it, but I don't know anything about it. I feel like I've seen that name written down. I've seen like streamers like, playing this now, but I know nothing about this.
It's really bizarre. Think a visual novel mixed with single player Among Us, basically.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what this is. Is it the one with the super crazy girl with the wacky
the red
art
hair?
style?
She's like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to play this game really badly. Yeah.
It's something else. You know, I would say there's definitely.
I saw that girl and I was like, yeah, she's Yandere and I love that. That's hot. So,
that's hot.
That's hot, yeah.
She's smoking. She's also 12. All right.
That's hot.
It's
Don't
it's something else. It's there's definitely stuff they could execute better, like right. But we got into a point where we were able to enjoy it more. It's because it's like Among Us single player, but more so it's like Mafia basically because you have roles, and as the game goes on, you kind of unlock more of them. But it basically becomes like, you know, you're either a crew or you're imposter, basically, which is what the Gnosia is, imposter. And you're trying to suss out who that person is. And it gets annoying because they repeat, like, same dialogue, and it'll just kind of be, like, indicators of what they're trying to say. And, like, you can do different things, like, basically throw sus on someone, and then people will agree or defend them. But they'll kind of say the same phrase every time, so it's not like unique dialogue. It'll just be the same thing. So you can't really interpret like details, but it's more so like general, just picking up patterns and looking. We look into like the voting records and stuff. We'll get into it because it's like, well, this person's sus because then you also have the thing that's in Mafia where you'll have like the cop role basically, and then you'll have like someone false claiming roles and stuff, so you'll have like 3 people come forward claiming to be a role, and then there's like all these other roles that confuse everything. And basically it's like you go through loops of these rounds. So far there's no end in sight, but it's kind of like Virtue's Last Reward-esque in that you have this character who you talk to who is like aware that they're going through loops, but like you pick up little details along the way as you go through them, and you meet new crewmates and stuff. It's interesting because you get up to like 15 characters, so then you'll have like a 15 character game where there's tons of people to sift through. But then you can, in the beginning, you start out with like 5, and you can even throughout the game you can change the settings to whatever you want. But then there are certain settings and different paths or different settings you go through that'll unlock more details about characters and stuff that'll come out. And I guess that's basically the goal. So we don't even know, like, have any idea of how close we are to getting to some sort of end here, because you just kind of pick up details along the way. We've gone through so many loops, put a lot of hours in already. But it's fun when you don't like spend too much time on it, like when you kind of speed run through the initial rounds, because it is like they do have repetitive dialogue. So, you know, we have different voices for all the different characters and stuff. But
that's
it's
a
like,
fun way to do it, yeah.
But we have like the same canned line will come 100 times, so we'll like speed run reading it. It's like, and we're like, geez, it's hard to suss out when you're say it the same way every time. But it's fun when you kind of don't take too much time to obsess over little details. But then we'll, like, as we get into later rounds, we'll look at the voting record and try to be like, oh, this, why would well, this person, if this person was Gnosia, then they wouldn't have voted this way the first time, because we know that guy is Gnosia for sure, so they wouldn't have voted for him if they were Gnosia. So this guy is safe, and then this guy defended this person who's cleared now, so this guy's probably safe. So it's interesting. We're playing it on, it's only on the Switch, I believe.
Yeah, it is. I think it's pronounced Noja because I believe
Probably
it's or Nausea. Maybe
nausea. Maybe
Noja.
it's probably nausea,
Noja.
but
Because like I think of because I know the root word is Greek, I believe. Well,
mhm.
Noja itself means the perceptive faculty enabling one to recognize the form and nature of persons and things.
Mhm.
But not the GNOS. No, that idea like is about knowledge. Like so the idea of like Gnosticism is like a Greek thing. Basically, was a way of Gnosticism was like a kind of a heretical early church thing. Um, some early religious history, but was like this idea that like in order to know Nojami is like hidden knowledge. You have to like know something in order to really be a believer. You have to know this hidden secret knowledge or something. So Gnostic people believe that there was some secret knowledge that you could only like acquire if you were, kind of in the fold, so to say,
Mm.
which is bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why. So I knew that seems like it's a root word from Greek. So
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, there's also like RPG elements too, where you can level up and
Mm-hmm.
add to your different abilities, which will unlock like different features you can use
Mm.
in the different dialogue interactions you have.
Yeah, it seemed I have had heard about it and I thought that did seem really cool. So
It's definitely a cool concept.
yeah,
We
I'll
had some
have to
problems
check
with
it
it,
out.
but it's a fun
Yeah,
enough, and we're just so used to calling it Gnosia now. We do, and
that's all you're gonna call it now. Yeah.
we named our character Gnosh. So everyone is trying to suss out who the Gnosia is, and they're like, Gnosh, I think you're pretty sus. I was like, no.
Hey,
Gnosh
me.
isn't Gnosia. But yeah,
That's fun.
it is fun.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. So my final thing is just manga in general.
The art
With
of manga.
I got both my stimulus check and my tax return like right around the same time. So that's how I got a PlayStation 5. But I've been buying some manga that I've been interested in for a little bit. So I want to highlight Goodnight Poon Poon, which is the art in it is amazing. Some of the most detailed artwork I've ever seen in a manga, but it's funny because the main character and his surrounding family are like look like little ghosts with long noses.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is super detailed and super realistic except for the main character and his family
Mm.
specifically are kind of these caricatures, and it's just this really you kind of have to be in the I almost feel like you maybe sort of have to be in the right mindset, but it's pretty raw, it's pretty real, it's very funny, but it's very sad also. It's definitely like it's I feel like by the time I get to the end of this manga, like I was already kind of getting a little choked up sort of towards the end and like of this one, and I was like, I feel like by the end of this manga, I'm just gonna be crying my eyes out.
Mm.
It's just very grounded storytelling, but it's navigating growing up, self worth, depression, and it's exploring it in a very relatable, interesting way. Um, Again, through this funny little caricature and his surrounding family, and his obviously his school, his friends, people all surrounding him. So it's something that I'm definitely very interested in going forward, in getting all 7 volumes and reading through it. It is very good. And I really enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, that's about it. Well, there's also Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, which is much more lighthearted. It's kind of about a kind of a for lack of a better term, a beta male, more or less.
Beta.
And a beta, but it's about this girl that singles him out and picks on him a lot.
And so is the girl the hero because she's going after the beta male?
No, he is.
Oh, okay.
But you know, it's building up to a sweet sort of love story.
Are they gonna love each other?
She clearly has something for him. She singles him out very specifically, even though he can't see it, because it's like, why is she being so mean to me? She's almost like to the point of like, well, some of the first interactions, like she makes him cry, and it's like he's like, wow, an underclassman made me cry. That's very embarrassing. He's very embarrassed by it. But he like doesn't really fight back. I don't know. It's I really like it a lot. It kind of massages that part of my brain that likes nice, simple romance. I like that sort of like teasing aspect in relationships a little bit.
Whoa.
So that it's fun. It's a good manga. So art is very, very good too in that one. It's not as realistic, but it's still pretty good. I really like a lot of the stuff in that. So
all right, that's cool.
Those are it. Yeah.
You know, manga. I have a good amount of them. I honestly haven't really taken the time to get into them that much. And in general, reading books, I need to do more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the manga that I really want to get into is well, I have the first volume of Berserk. I read through all that. Berserk is good. That's really dark too. And by two, I mean that's really dark. It's literally like gothic fantasy, like grimdark gothic fantasy. I have some like Dragon Ball Z, a bunch of volumes of that.
I have Dragon Ball. I have all the Death Note.
Love Hina. I have some Love Hina. I love Love Hina.
I have a bunch of One Piece, but they're like I don't have all the ones in order, so it's a pain.
I really like. I found myself really, really drawn more towards seinen manga, which is geared towards like young men in Japan. Just because like a lot of times the artists are just phenomenal. They really take the craft very seriously. So like Goodnight Punpun or anything by Naoki Urasawa. So like 20th Century Boys is one that I was reading on vacation last year. Absolutely wonderful story that's building up to. Monster is another one of his that I really like. I have not finished that. There's also an anime adaptation of that that's very good. Vagabond, which is Takeishu Inoue, who is very well known. He's very, very well regarded for Slam Dunk, was a big manga of his back in the 80s and 90s. He also has another one that's about, I think it's called Real, and that one's about like disabled basketball, sort of like a handicapped sort of basketball, so like wheelchairs. And that's supposed to be phenomenal too. I haven't read that one. But Vagabond is like a fictional account of Masashi Miyamoto, and sort of that kind of a feudal Japan, and art, and that's amazing as well. I mean, his art is just phenomenal. So
I feel like you highlighted like 5 things.
I did, but I just wanted to throw out more recommendations to people.
Next time I'm going to say,
if you're interested in manga,
video games, movies, TV.
Those were just. I just wanted to highlight manga. And so the two that I mentioned were the ones that I'm actually reading right now. Those other ones are just ones that I would recommend. So.
I want to make it a goal to pick up a book this year. How about that? Let me read a book. I have Ready Player 2 over here, waiting to be read at some point. I feel like I want to reread the first one, though, before then. I have a bunch of books that I haven't read. You know, I have the Harry Potters, the Lord of the Rings, but then I have some other like filmmaking-based books, too, that I want to get into. There's a lot. I just suck at it. I suck at reading. All right, that's it. Clippity clop. We're gonna clippity clop our way on out of here.
Clippity clopping.
All right.
Clippity.
All right. That's it for February as well as March. So we'll see you. Who knows when? Could be 1 month or 5 months from now. Either way, we'll talk about all the months that have elapsed.
Every month, the history of man.
Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you in a year for our 12-month recap.
A monthly recap would be like it'd be like a whole day, like a 24-hour stream.
No, that'll be a year recap. Yeah. All right. So, what video would you recommend our viewers watch after watching this one?
I would recommend our viewers go check out our Blasty Awards of this last year. Go check out the 2020 Blasty Awards.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a fun year.
There was some good stuff there that year.
2020 was a great year for
everyone. I think we can all agree.
I think everybody loved it. Yeah.
So here's to 2021 and greener grass being greener on the other side, and books and Andrew Garfield. All right, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our podcast feed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, Tarqaron TWO.
Yeah, baby.
All right, BB
King.